Hello? Where? There I am. Go away. Hi guys, how are you guys doing? Hello, hello. Hello, booklets. Hi, Mir. Um, how are you guys doing today? Good, I hope. We're getting back into the Hypnagogic Archive. Um, Sleepy, cozy? Aw, that's pretty good. I'm happy for you. Um, I had another piece of bread to the assets because I couldn't figure out how to take off, like, just the controller. So I just put another piece of bread over it. Uh, the tea I'm drinking today is my glazed lemon loaf tea, which I recently found out doesn't actually have any lemon in it, or like lemongrass or anything, or like I can't remember what's in here, but it's not what you would think would be in this tea. Um, anyway, so let's hop right into it. Heplunk. I'm gonna put myself over here in the corner. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty alright. Okay, so last time we were here, we went over and we found their email, which they sent, like, they mentioned it multiple times. Um, and then there was also the, I guess we don't really need that there anymore. Um, but there was the weird lower cases and upper cases that we kept finding, which I wrote them all down here, and I haven't gone back to check them again. These are all the ones that say specifically signed Alice, because we were looking at like the blog entries or like the update entries from Ellis. Um, these are the characters that we've heard about so far, including things that might exist outside of the ARG, but I don't know if they do or not because I'm very new to the internet, so I will have to look this up later. And then we started making a timeline of events, which, yeah. Oh, yeah. Supposedly there's a YouTube channel. And these were other notes that I guess I took. And this has absolutely no relation to the Hypnagogic Archives, but it's a really cool website. I think it is anyway, but I am also just really happy that you can just change the color yourself. Like that makes my brain so incredibly happy. Anyway, one thing I don't think we found, it was 2 weeks ago when we were investigating this, but something I don't think we found was this page, which was the longing for something greater. And I don't think we saw this last time. Yeah. But if you look up here, I spelt it wrong again, don't look at that. Oh yeah, they do have a YouTube channel, so we'll go and check that out later. Um, but like last time we found the text files, the store, and the blog, but I don't think we found this. Like, I'm not sure that that's actually on here, because we have the guest book, but that's different, you know? So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna look through this. Or wait, you know what? We didn't actually finish the log. So let's keep this in mind, and we'll come back to this after. Okay, we'll come back to it. Blog. Yeah, because we ended with, "You're so tired, little man. So very exhausted. Completely spent." And then that's when we get the lowercase c here. "But your location is significant. Strangely fitting. The future waits." And right here. Oh, is there a space here? I guess there is. Okay. It looked like there wasn't a space there. But we didn't get to. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, but we didn't get to the gulb, if you will. uh, so it starts out June 27th, 2023, checking in. "Hello, can anyone read this?" July 7th, 2023. "Hi. It's been a while since I logged on here, but I figured it was worth a shot. I mean, somebody must be reading this. I think about that a lot. How web traffic is distributed, which percentage of people is likely to follow a given link. It's interesting if you get into it, but I digress." Oh wait, I wasn't looking for capitalization. I'm assuming this is Ellis. I don't actually know, but I'm still gonna keep an eye out. If you guys spot anything that I miss, let me know. But I don't think I have yet. I guess I should explain how I got access to this website. I was walking near Bear Creek the other night. I usually stop by for the turtle pond in particular, and I noticed something sticking out from a row of bushes on the north shore. Nobody was around, so I bent down and picked it up. I got this picture. If memory serves, it was about 7:30 p.m. on June 20th, a week before I made my first post. It was a thumb drive, had some kind of mold or spores on it. You can make them out in the above photo. They're all over the front of the thing. This is so hard on my eyeballs. I've tried getting them off with rubbing alcohol, but they refuse to go. Anyway, I didn't have the type of cable that would hook up to a computer. This is a 2 terabyte thumb drive, and its port isn't the usual port for added security. It's a special proprietary port. The only way to get one is to order it directly from the company or to get one along with the thumb drive itself. In the end, I decided it was worth shelling out for a new thumb drive, but you can never have enough storage. The contents of this drive are massive. I haven't even begun to start exploring them. At the top of the folder, there was a text file, and when I clicked that, it came up with the login credentials to the site and the email, and a few other weird little notes. I guess it was created specifically to whoever owned the drive, so whoever could own the drive could remember their passwords. I don't know why anyone would carry this drive around with them. It's not like it's a portable one, and even less if they were going by Bear Creek with it. It could easily get wet around here, and I don't really know what this site is. There's nothing on it. I learned basic HTML when I first logged in, how to upload images and write paragraphs, but this website was completely blank. What's a hypnagogic archive? This all sounds like a noise band or something. Anyway, I was thinking I'll probably start uploading the contents of the thumb drive onto here, whenever time permits. I have a pretty busy schedule lately, so I'd like to share what's on the drive with you. I guess I'm bored. I'll try and I'll try and update this little blog section I've created with stuff about my life. Hopefully, if I start uploading these files, it'll also mean that whoever's drive it is will see this and ask for it back. If you think you know whose it is, send an email my way at hypnagogicarchive@protonmail.com, and I'll respond to whatever you have to say. I don't want to get in trouble or anything, and if the owner asks for it, I'd gladly return it. Anyway, yeah, that's all I really had to say for now. Okay, see, this is interesting, because this email comes up again. Again, like, they're mentioning this email a lot, so obviously we're going to try to email them. But it looks like Ellis is probably dead. So June 20th, 2023. Okay. So going back here, the very last post was October 31st of 2022. Of course, it's Halloween. 2022. I don't know if that last post is from Ellis. Okay. But something happened in the archives on this day specifically, and then June 20th is when someone picked up the thumb drive. Okay, but considering that okay, so it says I'm gonna have these open on 2 different tabs. That way I can compare them side by side. Okay. Before I move first person, there's a thumb drive, kind of mold or spores on it. And I feel like this part is also significant. Okay, but I think we've delved into our first big... Okay. I think that's a big question we need answering. Do we need that? Oh. Okay, wait, we're not getting to that yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hi, can you tell I have ADHD? This investigation is going to be all over the place. You guys will have to bear with me. hygiene area. There's a HypnoFest. Hypnagogic Archive goes under new management. Being Ellis. Am I spelling that right? Is it? It's 2 L's. Ellis. The forms go down. Second HypnoFest in Michigan. New Mexico, Michigan. See, now there's a new website. Dan receiving mean phone calls at night. Trevor Carlisle dies at 2 a.m. Specific classified tapes stolen. Last blog post from Ellis is on... Okay. Very short study. I think I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go back through these once we give them, like, a first glance, like, over. Like, once we've read through both of the blogs and then all the short stories, I mean, we're gonna be going back in and doing, like, a second, like, a more thorough look. So I should stop trying to piece things together before I have all of the pieces. Once again, I am getting ahead of myself. But I do want to write down... there's something about that mold that bothers me. So I'm just gonna... We'll come back to that later. Okie doke. July 30th. Tired and confused. Oh, that was the point I was gonna bring up. Is somehow this person has that email address, but... Alice here, new owner and operator. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Feel free to hit... They have the same email address. That was the point that I wanted to bring up. That's why I work at the archive, to ensure these memories don't get lost. Let's see if you're impressed with this strange video. YouTube. Upload it to our YouTube channel. But they... They have the same email because the password was on the thumb drive. I'm stupid. That took me a second. Oh, God. I might be a bit dumb, but that's okay. Okay, July 30th, 2023. Tired and confused. Getting lots of emails. I can't say I really look forward to opening the inbox every morning. I have enough to deal with on conference calls and Zoom meetings and a million other things that slowly eat at my time. But I promise you guys, I look at it regularly. And some of the emails I've received are a little confusing. Like, for instance, some of you talk like you visited this website before, or have some sort of past experience with it. How would so many people know about a crappy NeoCities domain with nothing on it? I mean, I've uploaded a couple files, but surely that's not enough to incentivize people to care this much. And before I found it, it was just a blank page. This is a novelty site, something that you prank your friends with? I thought those died off a long time ago. I've never heard of a novelty site with such an inexplicably long name. It's a long name. I don't know what I've gotten myself into here, and your emails are only adding to all this mental clutter. I was over at my friend's house the other night. She's a Wiccan, which should explain why she said this next bit. And she was like, well, Julian, you should clean your energy out. If something's pressing on you, don't just stand by. Act on it. Discover yourself. And then she leans up from her incense-soaked futon and pulls out a deck of tarot cards and starts idly laying them out. I guess it's better advice than I'd get from the internet. But being around her doesn't tend to relax me. It just sort of puts me on edge. Maybe I just have a repressed prejudice against that sort of thing. Anyway, I'll try and upload more files whenever I've got some time, but converting everything to HTML takes effort and I still don't know what any of you see in it. But as long as you want it, I'll try to deliver. Hopefully I'm not overworked to death first. Okay, so our character here is Julian. It doesn't look like we have another Julian on here, which is, you know, Julian. Hypnagogic Archives drive. Oh shoot, that means the HTML is going to be super important for this, isn't it? I'll have to ask my roommate about this. I have some very, very limited experience with Twine. I have made one game, and that is about it, and that is just about all the experience I have with any kind of coding stuff. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but let's see, there's a way to... Ah, here it is. Let's see, overflow, voices on the phone, you've walked in. Font family Helvetica, because of course. Didn't I already say that I was going to do a deeper dive later and I should just focus on getting the bigger picture first? Yes. Yes, I did. Okay. Thanks, Mir. I'm writing down the directions of how to do this so I don't forget. Okay. Coming back to that later. We'll come back to it later. Doing this first. Focus. Maybe I should take my ADHD meds before I, like, I dive into this. August 15th, 2023. Feeling aimless. Hi, how's it going? Hope your day is going as well as my days, which are all sort of blurring into each other at this unpredictable rate. I'm starting to feel the lag of summer, which seems too short and too long at the same time. I'm going to start a new shift at Tammy's Burger Haven soon. Oh, they work at Tammy's Burger Haven. I guess I'll write that down. Works at Tammy's Burger Haven. Oh, do I have a section where I'm doing... Here, you know what? Let's do heading 3. This way I can find it over here. Just do 3 characters. And then I'm also going to do locations. So we have hygiene area. Did it say what state that was in? Probably. And then Melrose, New Mexico. Was that the first? And then we don't know if Bear Creek is in the hygiene area, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it is. Which is where the thumb drive was found. Story-wise, it's really cool that they are adding all of these, like, locations. I don't actually know if the hygiene area is a thing. This is something we can look up later. And then... Okay, and the second one was Woodhaven, Michigan. Second Hypnofast. Okay. So that should be fun. Looking forward to staring into the deep fryer hours at a time. Honestly, I don't know what to do with my life or what I want to do. Maybe I'm just really good at making hamburgers. Didn't have any complaints last year when I went when I was at Griff's on Broadway. Running this blog has got me thinking a lot about what a blog really is, which I feel these days nobody considers the inherent purpose of, because blogs aren't very easy to come across anymore. I've tried to parse the name Hypnagogic Archive. I can't talk or say things in the English language. Etymologically. You guys can read it. You guys can see what word that is supposed to be. It's fine. This is fine. Because there's no information about it online. I assume it's an archive, repository of information, like the Internet Archive. I sometimes go on there, look up yahoo.com, and head back to 1997, because it's one of those silly sites that... Wait. This could be nothing. That could be nothing. Taking note of it anyway. Because there's one of the only sites with many captures around that time. And then, because you can't use the search function on the Internet Archive, I just aimlessly click around the various directories until I find a particular site that catches my eye. Usually these sites are only accessible if you click through a lot of directories. However, back in the day, you could get your own personal blog listed on Yahoo if it had enough traffic. And sometimes these personal blogs will link to their friends' personal blogs, and so on. There's something really unsettling about this little hobby of mine, because it feels so wrong. Some people probably consider it fun or useful or informative, but I feel weird snooping around these deeply personal diary entries that they didn't know would still be available for viewing decades down the line. Voyeuristic, a little ashamed, because some of these people are dead, and the only record that they ever existed, because they weren't celebrities or anything, they were just normal people like you and I, who wouldn't be known at all if it weren't for these web pages, which are barely even visited. The only record they were ever here are these blogs, and their photos are just staring at you, a world that's vanished. I feel like I do this because my own life doesn't seem to possess any meaning. Maybe if I keep flipping around, if I keep flipping through, I'll uncover some insights or advice, or stumble upon some role model who I can model my own personality around. Put on their flesh suit and start walking around in it. Every so often I find something weird, like a slang term I didn't slang like a slang term I didn't know existed back then, or a pop culture preference that seems weirdly precedent. I don't know. You can learn a lot about history and yourself by doing just that, by acknowledging the existence of historical documents. Maybe I don't want to learn. What's also really cool, from a storytelling point of view, is, so I'm assuming that this whole like ARG was made up by one person, but they took time to give a different writing voice to each character. So, I mean, well, we've only seen like two characters writing so far, but Julian has a very, very, very different way of writing than Ellis did. And I just really I appreciate that. I think that's a very nice touch. Writing in different voices is it's difficult. It's not easy. Um, but I can tell that these are two different characters, and I think that's really nice. Specifically with the amount of periods that are used, like things that aren't whole sentences, like this and so on. Like that's not a complete sentence. And a lot of these sentences start with and, or but, or like this. Like this is its own sentence here, as opposed to Ellis, which was much more formal because it had to be, with only some, like, and that's the other reason why I think the capitalization like sticks out so much. Oh, hello, Flying Moonwa. Welcome back. How are you doing? We're exploring the Hypnagogic Archive today. Hello. But yeah, like this. Um Actually, you know what? I take back what I said. I'm I'm doing pretty all right. I'm glad you're doing good though. I'm gonna readjust this. I'm keeping the bread on. I added more bread to my head. See? We have my two cats. Howl is on my left ear, and Solomon is on my right ear. Bread, 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 bread. Yes, yes, I am. Uh, I think I'm gonna keep this on. This might be a permanent fixture. Um, but yeah. I don't know how familiar you are with ARGs, but um, yeah, we're exploring stuff. Yeah, cats, bread, cat, bread. Um, I was looking specifically like the different voices that were used for the different authors of the blogs. So this stuff here, this is written by Ellis, and then over here, this is written by Julian. No, but I upload all of my streams, like all the VODs, onto YouTube afterwards. Um, which you can find at, it's probably linked in my thing, but it should be under Lorem Ipsum. Let me see. Yeah, it's up on my about page, like about thingy. But it should just be under Lorem Ipsum 404. Um, okay. But Ellis does, okay, so Ellis does keep some shorter sentences, but they feel like most of them feel quite a bit longer. And it doesn't really feel like he has nearly as many like incomplete sentences as Julian does. Julian is also much more, well, flowery with his language than Ellis is. Like you can kind of get like a more clear picture of who Ellis and Julian are just through the writing, and I appreciate that. So August 25th, 2023. What else is new? I've noticed something. Um, Sickness arrives in waves. You notice that once you get sick enough times, once your body fails you enough. Not all immune systems are built equal. I've been reminded of that for my entire life. Never had the best frame, metabolism was always off, never seemed to be able to retain calories. I forgot exactly what. Some kind of medical explanation was given. Gotta eat, Jules, they would say, doctor and everyone, prescribing diet supplements and formulas, paste from a tube, designed to adequately nourish my frail insides. So I'm going to assume that's what it was. When I felt like crud yesterday, just the old ailments rearing their head, shivers through my soft tissue, unable to stand, really just shaking all over. High fever, measured 105. I'm considering going to the clinic tomorrow. I hate being alive, hate the burden of living, the way I'm always aware of my body and its physical limitations. Aww. We'll have fun fishing. That's super sweet. It was very nice to see you again. Yeah. Bye. Have fun. Um, but this here, depending on how the rest of Julian, like the rest of this is talked about, I might have feelings about this specifically. Like again, from a storytelling point of view, this kind of lays into um, certain tropes, you know, when it comes to writing disabled characters. But you know, we haven't seen much else of Julian yet, so I'll hold off on making too many judgments just yet. October 13th, 2023. Voices on the phone. Walked around downtown today, get my mind off of everything happening recently. I got laid off. Said I was cooking the patties too long or something. So now it's back to the endless search. Looking in directories for some way to make everything fall into place, feeling aimless. I walked past the Paramount Theater and saw a massive crowd lined up outside with a massive blue sign. Under some construction corridor where they have these mining lamps strung up along the ceiling, and you feel like you're walking into a cave. It's too warm. Shouldn't be warm in Denver this time of year. Oh, they're in Denver. Oh, was the original... Was the hygiene area in Denver? Why didn't I write... Hold on. This is why I have this one pulled up. Okay. If I scroll down... Let's see. Shelby has been making... in Longmont? Why didn't I write that down? Okay. Bottle Bay is far down as Denver. Okay, so they are near each other. So it's the hygiene area is close to Denver. else do they say? Longmont? I am a very much a West Coaster, so I am very unfamiliar with these places. So you walked around downtown today. Shouldn't be warm in Denver this time of year. Should be freezing cold. Should need to bundle up and slip on ice. But no, it's warm and dry and everything just goes on. No harsh transitions, a smooth, long slope of nothing. My Wiccan friend, her name is Amethyst. That checks out. But we have... Okay. Wait, how did they spell it? Was it AM? That's the wrong one. You would think that considering I'm a book VTuber, I'd know how to spell and pronounce and read things. You would be wrong. None of those things are accurate. I can't do, yep. Okay, so Julian's. Wait, I can't see what that emote is. Amethyst, Julian's Wiccan friend. Wrong one again. She told me the other night that I need sleep, that there were bags under my eyes, and that they were bloodshot. She lit some incense and laid out some pillows and let me crash at her place with the new ambient music playing on her tape deck. Spokes rotating round and round, one ribbon being led in uniformly Hello. Case in point. One ribbon being led in uniformly from one spool to the other. Feels nice. In the morning, she gave me a tarot reading, which she's really good at. She recommends it all the time, but usually I'm too busy. She has multiple guides in the major and minor arcana, some of them with conflicting explanations, and over 25 decks. She's not too big into astrology, though, for whatever reason. Says it's fake. I wonder how she can be so convinced of one sort of fictive construct and so dismissive of another. How she aligns these two possibilities in her head. Wish I could do that, but all I see in life are incoherent, conflicting messages. Go this way, go the other. Anyway, she pulled death at one point and told me I don't need to worry about it. Okay. Some things about tarot is a lot of horror things will try to use tarot to predict something spooky, and then they'll just use the death card or the devil, or and they'll use it as if it's saying that something like bad is happening, and it's like no, or like they're trying to foreshadow that like the house is haunted by demons. No. Death doesn't actually mean like physical death. Death is symbolic death. It is transition. It is change. It is not a bad thing, but it's not good either. It is just change. And that's difficult for a lot of people to deal with. So, you know, it's not, but like, the death card is not a bad omen. And if they're, anyway. Whoever's calling me, stop. Please just stop. Find something better to do. Okay. Oh my god, I've been forgetting to keep up with the timeline. Where is that? Over here. So Julian picked up the thumb drive. So October 13th. $2023. I'm not taking note of the fact that they drew the death card at one point because that's at least give us the context for where it was pulled. Um, if that's trying to be foreshadowing, that's bad. Sorry, I like everything else, not that part. You've walked November 12th, 2023. You've walked here before. You've been down this path many times. All you need is to remember, to plumb the depth, and then it'll hit you right there, without warning, like a bullet lodging itself inside of you. You seem so naive, yet I know you're capable of so much more if you try. I've seen it with the rest. They pretend as if they don't know for so long, and then they rush out in a torrent. Give it time. We have patience and confidence. Trace the median to its original point, the amygdala to its source. He asked if you knew amygdalic thoughts. Of course you do. You have control over those. And all other thoughts. You can go anywhere if you determine the origin point. You have no idea. Why do you think your name is Julian? Ooh. Okay, that's funky. Let's see, November 12th, 2023. Spooky blog. Spooky blog. This is definitely a hint to something. We'll come back to it later. Focus. Oh, January 1st. That was 19 days ago. January 1st, 2024, the color changed. Well, me. I don't know how technology works. I'm pretty illiterate, and I only took one HTML programming course in high school. The color is all wrong. I go to the index page and try to change it from blue to red, but it stays blue, even though the page clearly specifies red. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know who keeps spamming the guest book. Stop. Please stop. It's too much for me to handle. I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what this site even is, or why so many people seem to visit it, and I never asked for it. This text is beyond words. It's unwieldy and hard to paste. I don't even know how text can be so hard to paste in, but it's as if every time I hit the mouse, there's a sensation of pain in my hand. Runs along my carpal tunnel and into my forearm. A sharp sting of pain, my brain flares up. Something is unhealthy about this. I went to urgent care about a week ago to ask what's up. They can't find anything wrong and end up billing me for it anyway. Haha. Murica. My plan isn't that great, and I don't know what to do. I get migraines, I get nosebleeds, big fat drops rolling inexplicitly into my sternum and into the sink. I don't think this amount of blood loss is healthy, and I don't know what causes capillaries in the nostrils to burst, but something is doing it. Something is doing it, and I don't understand it. Fun fact, there's actually a wide range of reasons. It could be something like high blood pressure, ranging to something as simple as allergies. Or some people actually have a blood vessel very, very close to the surface inside the nostril, which is how some people kind of get nosebleeds very, very easily, is because they'll have that blood vessel right there, and then they just like bump it onto something, and then it just starts gushing. Hi, I get lots of nosebleeds, so I know a bit, maybe too much about it. But yeah. Anyway. And you, who are you? A gallery of quiet spectators. In your seats, you lean back, all silent, eyes like diamonds in the abyss, each one a form in a constellation, each set of lips slightly pursed in anticipation of something. But you don't say anything. You don't intervene. You don't tell me what's wrong with me. Why not? Am I unworthy? And that is the last one. And then double checking for any secret text. I'm not seeing anything. This reversed image is fun. I like that. Oh? Wait. Marsha? Marsha? Marsha. Who's Marsha? Let's see. Marsha. Amethyst. Marsha? Okay, if we do something to this image, like, I'm sure that we'll be able to... Well, I have it saved here for now. I am gonna try to... Here it does say... Oh! Oh, shoot. I can just go in and change the color. That's fun. Is this Wait, I've never actually delved into, like... Is this permanent? Like, if I... No, it's not. Okay. Let's see... Do you think your name is Julian? HTML. Maybe I don't want to learn... Memory? Body, hand, body... Let's see... Overflow. Oh, I forget. Causing an element to overflow. Oh, I don't remember what that means. But I think it just means that it's going outside of the text box, isn't it? Yeah. But you can still see it. Like, you guys can see, like, the dotted lines up here. So it's going over, like, that text box there. But it's still, like, visible. Also, this little, like, scroll bar here, I figured out the, like... Well, I didn't figure it out myself. I just kind of copied and pasted somebody else's code. But... I was so happy when I got this working in my little Twine game. Let's see, computed. No, CSS. Oh, CSS is like sugar cube, right? Something like that. Or is CSS, or is the sugar cube like a Twine specific thing? I can't remember. Debugger, pages, no issues, network, performance, memory, oh, accessibility, name, actions, Child count? Oh, right. Okay. Child count isn't actually referring to, like, actual, like, the count of children. It's like the thing inside here. Sensitive? Length 5. States. Relations. Attributes. Set name true. It's kind of like, with, you know, again, with what very, very little I know, it's weird to kind of recognize some of these. Uh, but it also makes me feel a little bit smart to kind of, like, vaguely know what some of these mean. Okay. Come back to that later. But that was the blog. Store. It isn't... Okay. But this is also in Denver. But I'm not sure that's actually related to, like... See, I'm back to that dilemma that I was at before, which is like, you know, I definitely shouldn't try to purchase anything from here. Do I want to? Yes. I definitely shouldn't, though. Okay. Let's see. Let's check out... Let's check out our text files. I don't think we'll find anything... Oh! Hello! I don't... He's just looking up at the sky. Okay. But, you know, we'll still read through these. I don't know how much we'll find in this, you know, section, but I'm gonna read through it anyway. Alien chain email. The following is a classic chain email sent out to numerous college campuses in 2005. Attention to recipient. My name is Gordon Wimbledon, and I work for a prestigious government space agency. 5 days ago, we caught sight of a mysterious illuminated object lowering itself over a field near Taos, New Mexico. Me and several of my colleagues Melrose. I don't know if that's anywhere near Taos. I've never been to New Mexico. New Mexico and several of my colleagues were in the area to observe the event. In all my years of professional work, I've never seen anything even remotely similar. The craft was roughly 100 meters in width and constructed from a light yet durable metal. When we approached the craft, we were shocked to discover that it emitted a strange repellent field. Several of my colleagues died later of radiation poisoning. Beings inside did not make their presence known. For 5 long days, we set up camp and waited. We did not alert our agency for fear of creating widespread panic, so we sent out a chain email instead to cause widespread panic. And agreed that if nothing came of the event, we would tell nobody and go to the grave with our secret, which is why we decided to send out a chain email. 5 days later, however, the unspeakable happened. See, I'm unsure if we should take note of every weird, like, lower caps, because this here is in lower caps, and I have no idea if this has, like, any significance at all. Um, but am I gonna take note of any anyway? Yes, I am, I guess. Lowercase. So, ls blog. Stop that. And then this is the... All I'm seeing on this page is a lowercase t. So, I'll just do that. The leader of these beings is, 5 days later, however, the unspeakable happened. The leader of these beings, a 7-foot humanoid with an upper exoskeleton, exited the craft on a long strip of the same metallic substance and approached me. I was helpless as it held me, spellbound. Spellbound, spellbound. And it put its extremities to my head, after which time it initiated a prolonged and painful session of what I can only term as ruthless mind probing. My colleagues tried separating me from the creature, but to no avail. During this time, I believe the creature obtained most human knowledge, in particular, vital space research, leaving us as helpless. Upon the conclusion of the link, the leader ran back to its craft and departed. Can you imagine? Just like... I'm getting distracted again. But I'm just picturing, like, this tall, just, like, lanky, like, I'm picturing, like, the Greys from, X-Files, you know, but just, like, a lot taller and, like, kind of, like, lankier, just kind of, like, coming out of, like, this craft, seeing this human, and then just, like, picking it up, touching its forehead, and then just dropping it and running back to its craft, like, all just kind of, like, wibbly-wobbly. And that's just really funny to me, you know, personally. The leader ran back to its craft and departed. It just, like, noped out, or pieced out. It's like, actually, the human race? I'm good. It is my firm belief, and the belief of my peers, the worst is yet to come. So if you value your safety, please alert as many as people as possible. Unless the public is made aware of this crisis, we may have no recourse should the beings return. Sincerely yours, Gordon Wimbledon. You know, and again, getting kind of meta, I feel like the author of the Hypnagogic Archives was definitely having fun with this, and I'm proud of them for that. Tried separating me from the creature. I'm looking for any other lower caps. Nope. Okay. Call and response, trial and error. I don't like this image. I don't know what this image is. I don't know. Guys, I don't know what this image is, but I don't like it. I don't like this. Oh, there's a lot on this one. Okay. Call and response trial and error originally posted to the talk.experience group November 7th of 1992. Hi, I don't know if this really counts as something worth discussing on here, but I've had some jolt, so now I can stay up and recount it as best as I know how. And see, that's another kind of thing that I'm noticing with the writing in this, is that all of these characters do seem to capitalize every other, like, brand name, or, like Tarot was capitalized. Um, I never capitalize that when I'm writing. You know, it's like they've gone out of their way to capitalize certain stuff like this, even in, just like not the blog post. So I'm gonna take that as a sign that I should be keeping track of the weird things that are not capitalized. I've been combing through the group, and I find it amazing how many people have come here to talk about things with complete strangers. My parents got me a personal computer for my birthday, which was in August, since I've been trying to figure it out. Has a lot of functions, and I can also play some games on here. This is my first time posting on a public board, so please excuse me if my grammar is a little off. I've been looking through this directory for a week maybe, and I like lots of these stories, especially the one about the shark attack. I hear sharks won't actually attack you unless you're bleeding, but it was pretty scary anyway. My story isn't as scary, but it's interesting. It's one of those things that happens once in your life, then you forget it, or remember it one day and sit up straight like, oh my god, I forgot all about that. I'm writing it here because I want to remember it someday. I don't think it would be healthy to forget about it. My parents told me take me to a psychiatrist regularly. He's telling me that if I feel emotional, I should try channeling my frustration to something. So I'm putting it here for you guys to check out. I found out about this thanks to my friend from school. You know him as Yashar, so thank you for that. Anyway, this is the story. I don't know if... I'm not gonna write down Yashar yet, but it was around June this year, and I was at soccer practice. My parents had dropped me off, and they said that they wouldn't be coming back because they had to pick up my little brother Kevin, so I would be walking home. This was fine. It was nice out, and I live in a pretty nice neighborhood. Not a gated community or anything, but I've read the local magazines, and our crime rates were low. So I planned on playing for about 2 hours and then leaving. About an hour in, though, it started to rain, so we were called off the field and went under the bleachers to wait it out. Coach told us that if I don't stop in 10 minutes, practice would be over. Most of us were tired enough that we wanted it to be over, so it wasn't that upsetting, all things considered. I'm actually going to change this color here just so that it's easier on my eyes while I'm reading this. Like, I'll put it here, and then I'll just make this a bit duller. Like, that's good. Okay. I'm probably just gonna do this with the rest of them. That's a lot easier to read. Okay. The rain didn't let up, and we all went to the locker rooms to change, and someone loaned me their umbrella. I don't remember who. It was jet black, the kind you bring to funerals. I carried it out and started walking home. It was hard to see because the air was filled with mist, but I was able to make out the street signs if I squinted. Everything was a blur, and the streets were mostly empty. It was only late afternoon, but it was so dark it looked like night. I kept going and I zipped up my jacket. I felt like I was drowning and my umbrella was a diving bell. You could see them you see them in old books. Sailors used them before submarines. Just a little bit of air in there for the passenger to breathe. But what they didn't know back then is that you can't breathe your own breath forever, because with each cycle your lungs, because with each cycle of your lungs it becomes less oxygen and more carbon dioxide. It was like that. Even though I had the umbrella, I was still soaked. There were puddles on every corner because there wasn't very good drainage. I kept walking in the direction I thought home was, but it was hard to tell. At this point, all the houses in the streets looked the same and I was lost. I sat down under an awning and took a candy bar out of my backpack. I decided that it would be smart to wait until the rain stopped. I was sure that if I could see better, I would be able to tell which way home was. I don't get lost easily. I have a good sense of direction, and I know my neighborhood. It's not even that big a neighborhood, definitely not the biggest one in our city. I sat for a while, thought about passing the time with my Game Boy, but decided it could get ruined in the weather, so I didn't. It seemed like I waited forever there, watching the rain go on and on. The drops were big and fat, and the clouds were full of them. All I could see from where I was sitting, from where I was in the sidewalk and the curb, all I could see from where I was sitting was the sidewalk and the curb, and everything past that was a gray mess. And the rain went down the gutter in a little river. Finally, the rain gave out. By this point, it was late at night and the sheets were dark. I remember I could see the houses now. The clouds rumbled a little more, but soon they evaporated and the moon came out. I didn't recognize any of the streets. They had names I wish I could remember. I had never walked in the city very much, so I knew I had turned around somewhere. Or maybe I had walked past my house. I wasn't tired though, so the night was young. If I hurried, I thought, oh, there, like that I is supposed to be capitalized, but it isn't. And again, could be nothing. That could just be a typo. But I will take note of it anyway. The clouds rumbled a little bit more. The moon came out. Back in time for dinner, and my folks wouldn't know anything was up. These houses weren't any I recognized. The porch lights were on with about half of them. A lot of them were completely dark. Some of them were on hills located up flights of stairs. This wasn't my neighborhood. In my neighborhood, the houses were all located on the ground. The elevation was pretty flat. To add to this confusion, the sidewalk was still very wet and it was reflective, meaning my eyes were bombarded by a light show. Something didn't feel right. The streets kept repeating, and so did the houses. Eventually, I knew if I walked far enough, I could reach a main street or a landmark or something, so I just kept going. I knew about suburban sprawl, or how in lots of suburbs all the houses looked the same. About a year ago, I visited my grandparents who live across the state. They live in one of those suburbs where every house is identical, and you can only tell them apart by the address. It was different, though. Like in my neighborhood, all the houses looked different. They all had different attributes and features, and some were bigger than others. They all looked fancy, but some had patios and some didn't. Some had garages and some didn't. One had lawn sculptures, one had a fountain in the yard. It was bubbling, but I didn't see anybody around. It was like the street was just being generated randomly by a computer algorithm at the horizon. And that these houses were randomized while I walked past them. Some of them didn't make any sense. They were just possibilities stuffed together, like 3 stories mashed together in an ugly way that nobody would buy. I will say, the atmosphere, spot on. It's 10 out of 10. Uh, like this paragraph up here, this is good. I don't have the right words to describe how it is good, but it is, and I like it. And same with these. Like the way that these paint just like a picture in your head. Hats off. This is good. The moon didn't move either, or if it did, I didn't notice. I was getting tired, so I looked around in my backpack for something to eat. I had some corn nuts and half a sandwich. I ate both of those. I had a lot of homework to catch up on, but tonight I wouldn't be able to finish it. I'd have to put it off and go right to sleep with how tired I was. I figured that if nothing was wrong, then I should be on the outskirts of civilization by now. But the houses kept going and the streets kept going. I made a few turns right and left now and again to see if I could find a restaurant or something, but nothing changed. The only cars out were parked and there was nobody in them. I thought about going up to one of the houses and asking if I could use the phone, but when I tried, nobody answered the door. I realized maybe these houses were empty. Maybe the whole world was empty. Maybe I was losing it. I sat for a while on the sidewalk to collect myself. Whatever time it was late and I felt fatigued. One thing I did forget to do. So these are... College of Trial, Air, PNG. But like that Marsha, image was named nightstreet.jpg. And then I didn't check the other one either, but I'll go back for it. After walking some more, I noticed out of the corner of my eye that somebody was following me. I could hear their steps on the concrete. I thought I heard something, but I wasn't sure. I could have asked them where I was, but I knew somehow they were a threat. Excuse you? What was that? Hear their steps on the concrete. I thought I heard breathing, but I wasn't sure. I could have asked them where I was, but I knew somehow that they were a threat and that they weren't here to help me. They got closer. I turned around, saw who it was, and then I started running away as fast as I could until my heart caught up in my throat and my lungs were going to explode. They were dressed in a dark trench coat and had a hat on, a dark hat. They looked kind of like the man on the neighborhood watch signs. That's always freaked me out from a young age. I couldn't see who it was. It was probably a guy. They were moving slowly but walking towards me all the same. And I couldn't see their face. Then I remembered something that my friend Kate had told me a while ago. That when she slept, a man with a hat would stand in her room and watch her. Not do anything, or even move really. Just stand and watch her aggressively. Sometimes he was accompanied by other characters. I think she meant she was dreaming all this stuff, but can't be sure. It reminded me of that. I wondered if I was dreaming this person up. There were no alleys on these blocks, so there wasn't anywhere for me to hide. I turned left and right and left, and I turned right and left and right again, hoping I would throw this hatman off my trail. But I looked over my shoulder and he came walking out from the side. He was distant, but he was real, and I didn't want to get closer to find out more. It seemed as if he was playing with me, that he knew he would catch up to me eventually because I was walking quick and using all my energy up while he was walking slow and leisurely. He knew there was nowhere I could go because I wasn't close to anywhere. Maybe he was behind this illusion or whatever it was. The Hat Man, I'm almost sure it wasn't a woman, was around 6 foot tall and his movements were smooth. He glided down the sidewalk without revealing what he was hiding under his coat, which was buttoned from his neck to his waist. Around his waist, he had on a belt. I didn't see anything else from where I was standing. He was always about half a block behind me. My throat was dry and irritated. My feet were going as fast as they could, but somehow he always caught up. Okay. I am writing that down because we saw the last time we were exploring these archives, we saw other people talk about the Hat Man on the other website. So Marsha, question mark, question mark, question mark, Hat Man. Appears in Queen Dreams, question mark. Nope, here we go. I decided that since there weren't any alleys or ravines I could hide in, my best course of action would probably be to go up to one of those houses and beg to be let in. And if they didn't let me in, then I would break in and find somewhere to hide. I was sure that if the Hat Man caught up to me, he would kill me. So I scrambled up the steep hill in front of one of the houses. It was set back from the street. I knocked over a lawn flamingo on the way to the porch, and when I got there, I knocked and yelled. I could hear music playing from inside, so I thought somebody might be inside. And my spirits were lifted a little. The lights were on inside, and all I could see, and I could see through the shutter, but I thought that if the lights were on, then somebody must have turned them on. The Hat Man was almost on me by now. He was climbing up the stairs in front, so I decided to make my move and break the window. I picked up the chair that was on the porch and I slammed it into the window, breaking glass everywhere. I climbed in, realizing that the window was open so the Hat Man couldn't get in. So I looked around for a room with a lock on it. I saw what had been making the music, a CD player in the corner. Nobody was using it. Something wasn't right about the house. It didn't feel like anybody lived here. Sure, there was furniture and a carpet and lights, but it really didn't have anything human about it. It was as though these items had been set there by something cold and emotionless. I ran upstairs and looked around. Again, something about the house was wrong. The rooms were just slightly wrong. You got the feeling in this house that it had been artificially created. I went back downstairs and slid the couch around until it covered the window. The Hat Man still hadn't come in. Maybe he'd given up. I locked the front door and looked for a phone. There was one on the table. I dialed it, but all I heard was a busy signal, and I pressed the buttons, but they did nothing. The phone wasn't connected. I decided my best bet would probably be to barricade myself in the bathroom until help arrived or the people who owned the house, if there were any, got back and noticed their window was broken. I stopped by the kitchen to look for food, but the shelves and cabinets were empty, and the fridge had nothing. When I turned the taps, no water came out. At this point, I heard someone coming into the front room, so I locked the door to the bathroom and hid behind the curtain. Everything was quiet, but I knew the Hat Man was out there, and he was looking. I sat there for a long time, just breathing and waiting. I kind of zoned out eventually. The walls faded and the footsteps faded and the light went down. I guess the Hat Man had given up. He wasn't going to bother with me anymore. Maybe this world wasn't his construction. I got sick of sitting here, but I didn't want to go out the door. It was a gradual process. I dissociated from reality and my head hit the edge of the tub. I stared at the floor and hoped I would get out soon. In an hour I slept. So it has something to do with sleep. I woke up the next day on the side of the road. Nobody had noticed me there, but there were people around, and this street looked normal enough. It was bright, and I was sure that I was late for school, but at this point I didn't care. I was dirty and exhausted, and I wanted to go home and sleep more. I knew my parents would yell at me. I checked the signs and I knew where I was. I ran home as fast as I could, and I was incredibly happy when I saw my house. It looked the same as it looked the same as it had when I left it, although now it felt like an eternity. It was also distant in some way. I ran up the walk and stopped, and I noticed my parents were sitting on the porch. My dad was holding a beer in one hand and looking out into the distance. My mother was sitting next to him on the wicker chair, similarly expressionless. I went up to talk to them. I waved my hand in front of my father's face, but he didn't say anything. My mom asked to go inside, and he said she could. I went inside with her and saw my little brother Kevin crying in front of the TV. He was watching some kind of puppet show. Mom put an arm around him and told him that everything would be okay. She told him that they would do anything for him. He kept crying. He was going like a faucet. My dad came inside and put an arm around both of them, and that was when I realized that something was off. I put my hand through the furniture. I was dead. I was a ghost in my own house. I couldn't walk up to the second floor. My legs passed through the stairs. If our house had a basement, I probably would have fallen into it. I shouted at them, tried consoling them, but they were distraught and crying, and I sat there and watched. I wasn't safe. It hadn't ended. My family was going through trauma and grief, and all I could do was stand by and watch. It was a terrifying moment that still keeps me up at night. No angel came for me, but the Hat Man did. He saw this grief and came toward the house, hiding his fate all the while. I tried shutting the door, but that didn't work. My hand went through it. My parents didn't see him, but he saw me and I saw him. We existed in the same plane. My parents and my house weren't safe. Step by step he came along. And then, from under the brim of his headpiece, I saw his eyes, shimmering, flickering things that glinted in the midday like a hungry cat's eyes. Then the world snapped back and I was playing soccer again. No Hat Man. People could see me. I was fine. I wasn't dead. I was alive, and it was the same day and there was no rain. After the game, I walked home and I thought about what I had been through. I think this is what drug trips are like. Out-of-body experiences must be like this. I got home and I wasn't late. My parents weren't grieving and my brother Kevin is as annoying as ever. I feel like this story isn't worth anything because ultimately I never learned anything. Nothing about my life has changed. I feel like an experience as bad as this should make me feel something. Should make me think my decision's over. Maybe I'm a sociopath. Maybe I'll be the Hat Man when I grow up. Maybe I'll become the master of space and time and I'll create realities where I chase my past selves through streets I dream up. Maybe I'll torture my prey. Or maybe not. Maybe that's all there is to it. I hope you like the story. I probably won't post any more stories because, to be honest, my life really isn't that interesting and I don't have any other stories to tell. Interesting. Okay. Something to do with the sleep or the subconscious. What I did realize I could do copy and paste this and then look for any errors. Steps faded away. I might go back and do this with all of them. Just look for anything that's out of the ordinary like this. Let's see, they live in one of the... I thought. Because it did point out that one. Okay, I'm not too worried about grammatical things. I'm mostly just looking for those lower caps. And it looks like there was only that one here. Let's see. Were there any other images? No, there weren't. But we finally met the Hat Man. Chloe, final thoughts. Oh, cool. Oh, good. That's a good omen right there. Mmm. I love seeing that when I first load up a page. What's this one called? Chloe. Yeah, it would be. Your name would be Chloe, wouldn't it? Ugh. I don't actually know any Chloes. Just good. That's a good sign right there. We love that. Oh? Holy cow, this is a long one. Okay. Before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna do this before. Holy cow, it's so long. Control C. Control V. Okay. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. She unlocks to follow. None of these are weird capitals or lower cases, though. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything yet. Not seeing anything here just yet. Nope. Nope. Oh? I'm right. Nope. Sheet of notepad paper, writing the same person. Ooh. Okay. That could be something, because I haven't noticed any kind of spelling mistakes. But again, we also don't have the context for this yet, so I'll keep note of that for now. Could be nothing. Let's see. Birch Lake. Nothing else there. I'm not seeing anything else yet. That's capitalized correctly. Oh, but that C isn't. You tried to hide from me. I see you there. Okay. That's just a C. Very few resources left at my disposal. Okay, well, Okay, so it made sure to capitalize everything else, but I'm gonna take note of this anyway. So that's a D and a C. T. Okay, so they are just spelling their name like asphasia. But aphasia. Control C. Control V. Is less ability to understand or express speech, which is probably going to be relevant to this story when we get there. Okay, nothing. lights. That's not anything, though. Nope. Nope. Coins fluttering. Nope. 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 Okay. Okay. Oh. Mm. Hmm. Do I need to keep an eye out for, like, missing letters from words? Because if I do, I'm kind of screwed. I can't spell anything. Not seeing anything else here. I can go back through it all again, though. Let's see. Nope. Nope. This one is so long. Nope. Filling? Filled. Nope. Okay. Not seeing anything yet. Oh, this is great content. I'm a great streamer. We'll be done with this soon. Maybe. Hopefully. Okay. Still not seeing anything just yet. When? Nope. Okay. Okay. Possibly. Maybe. Not sure about these. But I'll move them up here. Where to go? Okay. And then I'm gonna go in and change this again to make it easier on my eyeballs. That's not a good... that one's okay. Okay. I learned a long time ago that life doesn't always work out the way you want it to. Since I learned that, I've lived my life according to that principle. That the world is a cold and remorseless place, and sometimes when things don't work out, and when things don't work out how you want them to, you have to go in there and smooth out the edges, and bend reality to your liking. That's one way to... I guess the first time I learned that was when I was 22 and living in the middle of Idaho. And I wanted to be seen by people for something. Wanted to be seen as kind of an expert on things. There wasn't a lot to do in Boise, so I went to all the local bars, restaurants, stage productions, tried gathering information and anything I could to fill my brain with the knowledge that it craved. I read a dozen of books on how to meet people, self-help guides from some of the leading experts in the field, but no matter how I tried to change who I was, whenever I approached some guy at happy hour, he'd always get this weird look on his face and go talk to some other girl. It felt so repetitive. I almost grew accustomed to it. When I saw Steve at the AST conference in 1998, everything changed. I could divide my life according to that one event. The moment I caught a glimpse of him behind a row of sparkling new AST monitors, he was a dream. A strong jawline, impeccably dressed. You could tell he had his mind set on a goal. He was going places, up in the world. The kind of man I had been raised believing I was entitled to. I lived with my aunt. She was a bitter old thing, and most days I tried avoiding her presence, which permeated the lower level of our house. I wanted Steve to understand, if he agreed to date me, that I was my own person, with goals and ambitions as lofty as his. That if we were to become a pair, we would be the talk of Boise, innovators in the field. I checked out several books from the library on programming, just so that if the subject ever arose during one of our conversations, I would feel relatively confident on the terminology and lingo. For several days straight, I wondered why Steve wouldn't answer me, why he wouldn't bend to my will, why my efforts bore no fruit. My mind was as compressed as a ball of aluminum foil. And the logic of the game Steve appeared to be playing eluded me. They say everything in life, even the blatantly negative, is learning experience and an opportunity to rectify one's mistakes. Steve's death was certainly one of those negative events. If I had been there, I told myself, to console him in his darkest hour, sitting by the AST monitor viewing my romantic pleas up close, he would probably have understood what he had been missing. But he was selfish and put his own life over my happiness, and in doing so, he taught me a valuable lesson. That nothing in life is easy. If you want something, it'll be an uphill battle of persistence and confidence. Oh boy. Oh boy. I quickly put Steve out of my head, became more resolute and iron-willed, and I no longer worried about whether men found me attractive. What they thought or said about me behind my back was without form and void. I lived a secretive and furtive life here on the internet, investing in speculative bubbles before they burst, posting on forums under various pseudonyms, always with an inquisitive tone. I wanted something more in life, something beyond the confines of Boise, and my mind was like an absorbent rag. It continued soaking up the knowledge. Sometimes I feared my brain would spill open. It was carrying so many fields of study. I got migraines often, went to sleep at 9 p.m. Bit of an inflated sense of self here. Which is, you know, fine, I guess, as long as you're healthy about it. My aunt told me, Chloe, one of these days I'm going to have a stroke, and I won't be here to take care of you anymore. We had tea in the evenings, which was usually our only real time of reconciliation, and I cared little whether or not she had a stroke. She had a circulatory condition which made her veins unusually pronounced, and she sat like a vulture over her food, stringer buzzard to the carrion. She died in 2000, 2 days after the new millennium rang. I remember it because I had woken up and looked out the window, and felt rays of the dawn on the shag carpet, and when I opened the door, she was there, permeating a sense of death about the house. And I knew even before I entered the room and gazed at her disheveled corpse on the sheets, that the inevitable had come to pass. Time marches on, and none of us are privileged enough to escape death. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Moving on. That was what I thought. I had been told that around Boise from a very young age, and I had never stopped to question whether it was really true, whether or not you could cheat death. I mulled this over as her cold, buzzard pupils pierced past mine. Clearly, she hasn't been as crafty as I. I pulled the covers over her and called the police, and I filled out the funerary paperwork and attended to her funeral a month later. And as the Reverend read from his pocket-sized scripture, I made plans for the future. I made sure that if I were to go out, it would not be with a whimper. Finally, scanning pages and pages of local events, desperate to escape the now empty property, looking for anything to do besides sulk around the lifeless hallways and staircases, I happened upon an advertisement for a speech, which was to be given by a member of a secretive mystic group known as the Clade at the time. The very same time, at the very same conference hall where I had seen Steve for the first time only 2 years prior. The speaker, Bayard Macy, was convinced that he had lived from the inception of the universe to its death, in various forms as various things, and furthermore that he had achieved this process multiple times over, and had endlessly cracked the code to immortality. And anyone could do as much, he said, if they only heeded his call. I took one glance at his picture and decided that if anyone had the capacity to live forever, it was him. I immediately rang the conference hall up and purchased a ticket to the event. It was surreal, I admit, to walk into the same room where the love of my life had been standing, and not be greeted by a row of those familiar AST-designed processors. The room looked very different, with rows and columns of folding chairs set up in formation, all towards the stage. The ceiling was low and the lights were dim, and I grabbed a seat near the front, in the second or third row, to see this master conjurer, this immortal being. The room went dark, and he stepped onto the platform in an unassuming suit, and a fog machine backstage billowed cloud upon cloud onto his cheap business shoes, and then from behind the curtain came a device, a spherical, glass-looking thing with wires and buttons attached to it. This was the time sphere. Okay. A device which functioned much as other time machines did, with one crucial difference. The time sphere had been through so many paradoxes according to the brochure that we had been given at the door, and so many logic-defying, self-fulfilling prophecies that it was on the verge of a complete failure. It certainly looked that way. One side was badly scarred, microscopic cracks were beginning to form in the exterior, and Mr. Lacey lifted the hatch and sat inside and rubbed his hands over the leather seat, which was similar to the cockpit of a fighter jet. I know, because my aunt had taken me to an air show when I was 8, and I had been able to sit in an authentic B-52, and I came to realize just how comfortable it was, just how that comfort was necessary when your vehicle was careening around the sky at breakneck speeds that could bend the laws of sound and sight. Macy pulled a small microphone from his vest and looked at it, and then, with a dry wheeze, from within the time sphere, he said in that ancient voice, "Wow, you showed up." Polite laughter, some clapping, all people with dead stares and very little movement. It was like sitting in the middle of a wax museum. I was out of my element. There was something about Macy's disposition that kept me spellbound. Sorry. Held me the cheap plastic folding seat and the artificial nylon rug. I'm on my way back to home base, he said, without stuttering at all, grinning ear to ear with a kind of timeless bliss. Charon. I make a lot of runs between Seattle and Charon, you know? Spread the word. How to spread the word. My work is never done. I always run into some people who tell me I'm crazy. If I were crazy, I would have given up a long time ago, but I keep on. I've learned a lot of things, though through many lifetimes. One is that if people don't want to believe something, you can't convince them. How many of you have told your family, coworkers, about this, and they wouldn't believe you? A few hands shot up, mostly in the back, and he pointed at them still concealed by the confines of that internal device. And then something unexpected happened. His eyes glowed red, and he looked positively evil. The hand shot back down, silence fell over the crowd, and he calmed down and folded his wrinkled talons over each other as if he was a perfectly normal man and those were ordinary circumstances. "I need a volunteer for this next part," he said. "This will convince any of you who have doubts. Anyone at all." And without really thinking, I shot up out of my seat and spread my arms wide, feeling the energy of the moment take me into rapture. He lifted the hatch, scanned the rows and columns of seated individuals, and something inside his all-knowing mind clicked. And with his outstretched claw, he pointed at me. "You! Yes, girl, you! Come up!" I rose, rather levitated on the shiny woolen stage. Shiny woolen. That makes sense. On the shiny wooden stage, and he held my hand up, and I smiled. She's going to demonstrate this for us. Now, you can take pictures of this, and if you thought to bring cameras, I guarantee after you see this, you can go home and tell your family off. Because this is going to make you believe." He sat me down in the device and closed the hole, and I felt as if I were held in the womb by the universe. The break in the oven of creation? The break in the oven of creation. I'm not entirely sure what they mean by that. From the outside came a few flashes and clicks as the observers shouted, and Macy tapped on the glass and asked if I were all right. I remembered how terrifying it had felt to sit in the cockpit of a jet, even if that jet weren't going to take off with me inside it. I was about to journey into the cosmos. He faced with the crowd and lifted his arms, the mad sermon alight with life, and then he whirled around with more energy than a man of his physique should have been able to muster. "Where would you like to go?" he asked politely. I had infinite possibilities before me. My brain began to ache as I considered them. He may have been of infinite age. However, he was not of infinite patience. He tapped his foot, and impulsively I answered, 1992, I said from behind that protective barrier. "Boise, right here. 1992. He appeared confused, as confused as I was when I said that. But I said it, and when you make decisions, you can't always go back on your word. Certainly not in this case. So I stared straight ahead, hands gripping the rails on either side of the seat, and before me the screen of the apparatus lit up with the green computerized text, and Macy pulled a small device from his jacket, and the crowd sat in petrified wonder as he raised it, and set his bone-dry index finger on a button on the oblong device. In the blink of an eye, he lowered it, and I could faintly make out the noise it made, the final noise I would hear in the iteration of the year 2000. Okay. Woof, this one's long. Okay, I'm gonna get through the rest of this. Maybe. Oh, there's so much. I'll get through maybe another part or two, and then I'll probably call it quits for the night. Let's see. It is difficult to describe the process of being displaced in the casual ribbon. Suffice it to say that Macy's voice echoed through the process, and when I arose from that technicolor soup of noise and pastel, it was 1992. I was standing in the middle of Boise, as it had been a few years prior, before I had met Steve, before my aunt had died. I felt rejuvenated, resurrected, and I believed then that with the aid of the time sphere, with the addition of hindsight, that I could live my life over again and avoid the mistakes that had led me to such a melancholic state of being. I ran down the streets and observed just how much change can change in 8 years. It's a very gradual and nondescript ordeal, the transformation of one's environment. However, the Boise I had left no longer existed. Here I was, here and now, to create a bright future for myself. My mood was ruined when I saw my 16-year-old counterpart standing on the porch in that terrible fashion I once wore. It hadn't occurred to me until then that her presence here was inescapable. Her clothes were gauche and without substance. Her eyes were bitter as she beheld what she would eventually become, and I returned her gaze in equivalent contempt. We stood on either side of the fence for some time. I observed her like a snarling beast in a cage, and she observed me like some callous zoo-goer. The experience must have been eerie and jarring for us both, though more so for her. "Who are you?" The question rolled off her tongue like citric acid, echoed over the reflective buildings and facades of Boise, which were now a deep amber from the setting sun. I wanted to snap her neck there and then. I hated the little thing so much, but I displayed tact and reservation without saying a word. I darted off in the direction I had arrived from and just spent hours walking alone, downtown, with no means of returning to my own time and place. I was a castaway in the ocean of time. Little by little, in that nocturnal summer ambience, as the shops turned their lights off, one by one, and the trees by the edge of the sidewalk swayed gently back and forth, Macy's voice found its way through the ether of years to me, filled my head until I could no longer ignore it or dismiss it as a fragment of my own overwrought imagination. I sat on a small green bench and Macy asked, "Are you happy? Is this what you wanted?" Yes, it was. Well, still is. I can't say I hate it. I hate her, though. I hate them all. "Why don't you do something about it, Chloe?" came his rustic drawl. I could picture him, even now, in the chair and lounge, pressing his fingers to his temples in that overstated business suit, taking the time out of his day to help me with my problems. He was a wise and venerable man, even now, all these years later, that cannot be denied or ignored. "What can I do?" I responded quietly, muttering vague platitudes under my breath. "I'm here alone, nobody to talk to, not her, not either of them." "You could kill them," Macy said, reverberating throughout my skull. "That's what I always do when things don't go my way. I erase people, in the name of my own interest. Time is like any other resource, Chloe. When you get right down to it, exploitable, profitable, to be utilized for one's own personal gain. If I can do it, surely you can." And as this last statement reverberated into the darkness, my sights caught the corner of the drugstore. The drugstore which had gone bankrupt in 1995, but was here in 1992, still operating as always, trusty and reliable, still open with lit windows and that chalk-white interior, for 5 more minutes. 5 minutes during which I could purchase certain prescription drugs, for my aunt. She was found the next morning, having suffered a quiet and painless death, which was ruled by the police to be from natural causes. They never even looked for traces of the small white capsules I had dropped into her glass of the bedside water the previous night when she and my former self had been fast asleep. And if I looked 8 years older, mysteriously to them, they didn't show it. Surely they wouldn't accuse me of being some sort of imposter, not after the... See, that's a capital N there, but for some reason Google didn't pick up on that, which is cool. Thanks for that. So, N... where is it? This one. Yeah? Yeah. Where did I just leave off? Not after the trauma I had endured following the death of my loved one. My past self, I had to use slightly different methods on. She was feisty, put up a fight beneath my hand. I worried that if she were to die, I would be erased. Yet Macy had said that such issues did not matter, that time could be exploited at will with no consequence. She squirmed and withered as I held her lips shut to ensure that no screaming came from her lips. She rarely objected. In fact, while I tied her, dragged her screaming and kicking into the basement, her eyes swollen and filling with tears, I looked into them and saw a bit of myself in them. That bit would need to go, I reasoned, forever. She said nothing as I plunged in the screwdriver and it began spinning. I would expect her to say something. I hadn't taped her mouth, but she only stared across at me in dead silence as we sat like some kind of mirror image on chairs opposite of each other, framed only by a single light bulb. She without free agency, and I with. I felt catharsis as the driver bore into her skull. An easy way to go, lights out. One puncture wound to the brain. I treated it with epoxy from the carpentry table to ensure that no blood spilled out. Then, in a long and giddy process that occupied most of the night, I took the shovel in the corner and used it to pry open the floorboards, placed my counterpart gingerly in the airtight plastic bag to prevent odors from wafting up, and set the floorboards down again, hammered extra nails into them, and then covered the spot with a large crate. Truth be told, I was exhausted and sleep-deprived when the police showed up, and I told them how I had found my lifeless aunt. Probably helped my performance, strengthen my feigned grief. As Macy had assured me, no consequences came. I didn't vanish from existence. The fabric of reality didn't dissolve. I sat on the porch, sipping an ice-cold Dollar Tree tea from the gas station down the street, eating my favorite flavor of Pringles, which have now, for whatever reason, been taken off the shelves, because Pringles suck. Sorry. I felt akin to a goddess. Macy continued to speak through me, as he told me of his adventures from the inception of the universe to its destruction. He told me of his infinite lifespan, his accomplishments in organizing the clade, his many transgressions against preconceived temporal logic. He had been born, he said, in Karen, Kansas in 1926. It was different in 1926, however, and the one I had known was only the result of his action, his decisiveness, his will. He had grown from the Dust Bowl to a paratemporal deity. I could become a strange goddess equivalent to him, he told me, if I trusted my decisions, displayed no regard for the welfare of those around me, prioritized my survival above all else. I would survive anything. But I could not display doubt. This, he assured me, was key. Doubt was the termite which gnawed at will. It weakened one's resolve. To doubt one's actions would be to undermine the efficiency of those actions. And so, with the assistance of the voice in my head, I resolved to have Steve. Again, nothing was going to keep me from him now. I am liking this quite a bit so far. I know full well this is going to end in disaster because, yeah, but I do like the subtle manipulation that's going on what's his face's part? Where is he? Macy. Like, I feel like it's subtle anyway. It might not be. But he's definitely using her for something. We just don't know what yet. Okay, let's see. It is 5:37. I'm getting kind of EB. See, we've been going on for about 2 hours now. How long is this next one? Oh, that's really short. Okay. I'll read this next one and then I'll probably call it quits. March 12th, 1998 arrived and I woke up early in the dawn. I put on my best clothes and head down to the AST conference. Though I was older now, close to 30 by my estimate. Although birthdays were no longer a certainty, I felt as if the brisk walk was a ritual of sorts, an ordeal I had been made to suffer for the past 6 years. This was the payoff, the culmination, my second chance. I even brought a watch for the occasion, timed it such that I would be in the hall 5 minutes earlier. Steve wouldn't be pulled back by his friend. He would come over to say hello, and then we would leave the hall. All that blood on my hands would be washed clean. All the pain and effort would be worth it. I would have everything my way because I knew because I knew what was going to happen and could prevent it from happening as it had. I was on my way now. Yes, Chloe, Macy said from the deep recesses. Atta girl. When I saw Steve amid the row of the luminescent computer monitors, I felt a wash of euphoria sweep over me. In rapture, I approached him, waggling my fingers. He was every bit as approachable as I had envisioned. A wild smile spread across his face. I spotted his friend approaching from the side of the aisle, so I put my hand around his back and moved him to a display where we would be alone. "Who are you?" he asked. He had a gorgeous build, looked like a football player, with a full mane of hair and a precisely ironed uniform. Of all the conceivable permutations, I had been led here. This was the end of an inevitable process. "Chloe," I responded dreamily. "Chloe Richards, just a local." He shrugged and pulled away from me. I grabbed him again, by the collar this time, and looked deep into his mind. Furtive, scanning, nervous. Had to end the uncertainty because certainty bred doubt. Remember the tenets. "Listen, Steve," I said. He flinched ever so slightly when he heard his own name. "If you're here and you want to know some of the best spots to eat or hang out, call me. Just call me. Think about it." And with that, I plucked a ballpoint pen from his shirt pocket and grasped his hand, inscribing my phone number onto his palm. He was mine now. And then I left without saying anything. Let him decide whether or not to contact this mystery woman. I spent a long while that night reflecting on my method, gazing out the attic window at the nocturnal Idahoan activity, tapping my fingers, waiting desperately for the phone to ring off the hook. Out on the horizon, cars wound their way up to the hills towards Dry Creek Valley, or Schaffer Butte, and the lights disappeared as they rounded the curves. I imagined the roads were timelines and the cars were people that I was witnessing firsthand, from bird's eye view, the extent of temporal mechanics. The phone rang and I answered it, and I waited with hesitant sighs. If Steve didn't say yes, I decided in that split second before he spoke, I would kill him. "Hi, Chloe," he said, warm and friendly. Just thought I would reach out. Listen, is there someplace we could meet up tonight?" My mind raced. It was close to 11 p.m. Most places were closed. "There's this bench," I said, without so much as a second thought. "I'll swing by your place and pick you up, and we can walk down there together. You're at the Holiday Inn, right?" "Yeah, I'll be standing by the third entrance." And just like that, the line went dead. My mind raced with the possibilities of the future, the glorious future, the future which wouldn't have been possible without Macy's time sphere. Praise the Clade. I put on some shoes and took the last bus to the hotel. Skipped my way to the entrance where he was standing, leaning against the lock, hands in his pockets, casual and prepared. I slid my arm around his, and we strolled through the parking lot toward the street. I was in ecstasy. He held my trembling fingers, visibly alarmed by my nervous disposition. The gathering crow's feet, the visible blemishes on the skin that in another time and place had been flawless. He'd rejected it then. And as his lips began to open, in one terrifying instant I realized what he was about to say, and I froze on that small bench as the wind whistled through the trees in the dead of night. "Chloe, I'm married. I'm sorry. She had been obsessing over him all this time and didn't even know that he was married. I'm a bit too eepy to be to laugh as much as I would like to, but that's hilarious. I know so far that I've been descriptive of many things I've related, up to and including the murder of my aunt and alternative self. However, I remember very little of what happened then. Something about a rock, not a very big one, merely one of those you see lining public thoroughfares such as the one we were on. I remember its heft and density as I clutched it with my fingers, icy cold and brittle. I remembered something about the noise it made when it grazed his skull. Apart from that, however, I recall little. I don't, for instance, know what I did to clean out the blood from the asphalt. I don't know where his body is hidden, whether it's down in the basement with the others, or if I tossed it in a river or discarded it carelessly in the trunk of a nearby station wagon. All I can say for sure is that once more Mr. Macy, my only true friend throughout this perpetual ordeal, kept me safe from the watchful and ever vigilant eyes of Boise's finest. And for that, despite what come later, I am forever grateful. Actually, you know what would be interesting? Or what would be an interesting thought? If, Macy, like, maybe Steve wasn't married in the original timeline, but maybe Macy, like, I don't know, did something, like, set him up with somebody just in the past and caused, you know, leading down, etc., etc. There's a bunch of timey-wimey shenanigans that could have happened here. But it's interesting to think that maybe he wasn't married in the timeline that she knew him. In the timeline that she first met him, anyway. Okay, with that, though, I'm going to... Okay. So we left off there. We didn't add too much to the timeline. We met somebody named Marsha, question mark? I'll mess around with that image later. Yeah. Okay. Oh, big stretch. Bloop. Nighttime. Alright, guys. I think that's gonna be it out of me today. Thank you everyone for coming. I enjoyed that. It was fun. That was definitely a good pick me up. Thank you for coming. Hold on. Your chat didn't show up at all. I'll fix that later. Yeah. Okay, let me go find somebody to raid. Let's see, raid. I'm not seeing anyone that I follow. Let's see. Mir, do you have any suggestions? Nobody's showing up here. No? Well, I guess we might just have to end our stream without a raid. That's sad. Oh well, there's always next week. Um, Speaking of next week, I will see you again on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday we'll get back to reading House Moving Castle. Um, yeah, thank you again for coming. I will hopefully see you again next Thursday. Bye.